Okay. So today, because we covered heel, did we cover stay?
Not stay.
Not stay. Okay. So we covered heel. We covered place. We did recall last class. So we have sit, down, and stay to teach. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does she know down?
Yes. Oh, she's supposed to be up right now. Yes.
She does.
I think so.
Okay. Go ahead and just show me.
Down. Down.
How would you normally get her to down?
Like with food. With food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does she have allergies?
No. Or maybe chicken. Maybe chicken, but we don't know.
Oh, this is chicken. How about with your hand?
Luna, down. Down. It's really only with food. That's the only time
Okay. So we're gonna do a couple of things here. So her collar's down.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So you see how it's blinking red?
Yeah.
So go ahead and take her collar off. Is she on special probes? I can't remember.
No.
No? I think we have a charger for this. We'll put this charge membrane on the collar.
Okay.
So here, the battery life signal, only for the remote. Not the collar.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens all the
Oh
time.
my goodness.
This tends to die faster than the remote. Okay, so we're gonna put this to charge. We have others that we can use. And we'll see if we have any treats to work with her.
Okay.
And we'll work on the down and stuff. She only has a prong, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna bring off that collar too. Right back.
I told you to charge it.
You don't tell me to.
I didn't. Pretty sure I did.
You didn't.
Luna. Good girl. Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. Cute puppy. You're a cute girl. Yes, you're such a cute girl. Over here. Hey, where are you going? Where are you going, bud? Where do you think you're going? Can you sit next to me? Good girl.
All right. So your collar is charging. So here, this is the same, technically the same tower. It's just the older version.
Okay.
So here, you can go ahead and fit her with this one. There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Alrighty, and then we're gonna put this one on her.
Above the prong collar or?
Yeah, and then after we put the orange one on, you can remove the prong collar. Or you can just clip to that one if there's enough space.
She's got a long neck anyway. Did my hair startle her?
So we're at 15 here. All right, so let's see if we can find her number real quick. 15, 25, 31. Yeah. Is she on special pros?
Is that me?
I looked at it and I couldn't, like. So I'm not seeing the twitch here, and that's L127.
127?
Yeah. Is it? Okay. Okay, it's loose. This. You got long and thin neck.
I always knew she had a weird neck.
17. There it is. 77. Okay. 61. 41. Yeah, cool. So we get a connection. 32. Okay, 39. All right, so here, these are peanut butter and oats.
She does like peanut butter.
Okay. But not my peanut butter. You want to try giving it to her? Maybe she might take it from you. Not me.
Maybe she's just like excited or not very food driven right
No?
now.
All right. So here, but she has the concept of the down, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do the first batch.
Okay.
And then once she gets the concept, I'll pass her off to you.
Okay.
So what we want to do here is, we know she knows it, right? So she can do it with food. Is I'm going to take the leash. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on the back of her neck here, and tip, 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 tip. Good girl.
Good girl.
Break. Good. Back. Yeah, good girl. Good. No, keep. Tip. Good girl.
Aww. Look at that baby.
Break. Jesus. Yep. Good girl. Okay. Break. Good. Two more. Which is easier than anticipated, which is good. Down can be a little bit difficult sometimes. Yep. Good girl. Break. That's 53.
Okay. Kind of what we had it on the other one.
Before? Yep. Get it. All right. So the reason why I took her is because if a dog's going to get defensive, it's usually over the down command. That's when they tend to panic or freak out, because you're using pressure to put them into a submissive position. So they tend to be a little bit more resistant, and then they tend to panic. Because this makes dogs want to move. So it's kind of against her instinct to lay down when she feels it. So here, that's why I asked if she was familiar with it, because it makes it easier. She's already done it before. So had she taken the food, I would have done this and then just fed her at the end to make it easier. Okay, so once she figured out tap in, this means to lay down. I just release and I repeat, because I'm trying to teach her to respond to this easily. So it's not like the other day it took me half an hour for another dog to get the dog to lay down for the first time. And the dog was panicking, it was loud, like a lot of commotion. But once the dog got it, it got easier and easier and easier and easier, but the first one is always the hardest. So she got it really quick. So here, all we're doing is teaching Luna that when she feels downwards pressure, and the tap that it means to go into this position, okay? So we're gonna be using the word down by the end of class. But right now, like let's say I said down and she laid down, it doesn't allow me or give me the opportunity to use this. That's why we always teach things with this first, even if the dog already knows it, and then we'll layer in the word. Okay, questions? Right. So I'm going to hand her off to you here. So you're at 53. And you're just going to circle around. Don't worry about heel or anything like that. You're just going to circle around. And we do left side just because of habit. But she's not actually like any heel or anything like that. Okay? Good. And then go ahead and give it a little bit of slack there. And then with your left foot, you just step on the leash a little bit and tap. And praise.
Good girl.
That's it? That's what you do? That's as best as I can. Perfect.
Break.
Good, we'll do four more.
Good girl. Good girl.
So you're gonna put pressure, downward pressure, and tap
Correct.
at the same time. Okay.
Yeah. Now, she responds very easily. Like, let's say, like, technically, if you do this, she might start laying down because she sees your foot, right? Because she knows you're gonna step on it. So technically, if she starts laying down after you do this, that's technically not wrong. Does that make sense?
And you don't have to tap.
Correct, because she's just doing it more quickly. And that's what we're trying to teach is when we start the cue, boom, is she just lays down. So once this gets, like she's already doing it really well, but we're gonna start layering the word down. So we would say down, then tap, see what she does. Keep tapping and then step on the leash if needed. Okay, so we'll do a couple more, break.
Break. Good girl. Good girl. Break.
And one more. And the reason why we went to her flat collar or to a flat collar is because the prong and the e-collar going down, it can be too much. They're more likely to panic. So we go to a blunt object. Set this way, if she jumped back, she wouldn't feel the prong collar because that's what makes the dogs panic. Is they try to go back like this and then they feel the prong and then they start to flip out. But once she gets it, we should be able to do this with prong as well.
We didn't have a flat collar for a little bit. We did, but it was from when she was a puppy.
Oh.
So it was really tiny.
Sure.
It's pretty much just the prong collar, but we got one. We got one a couple days ago. You know, we have that, so we can do that.
If we practice with her? Yeah. She should be fine because it's just in the beginning when they're unfamiliar with the pressure going downwards that you can transition to the prong. But if you ever, like, let's say she's doing fine and then one day you step on the prong and she jumps back and then she just, and she just freaks out, just take your foot off the leash and just let her chill and then just clip her to the flat collar or put her on or bring flat collar in because it was just too much pressure. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the word down.
Okay.
Everything's gonna stay the same. You're gonna say break, you're gonna walk around, you come to a stop. You're gonna wait a second, then you're gonna cue down, then start tapping. If you say down and tap and Luna just lays down, we don't do anything. Praise, good girl. If you keep tapping and she's not responding after the second or third tap, then you'll step on the leash as you're tapping to get her to lay down.
Okay.
Okay? Break.
Break. So I say it first.
Yep.
Down.
Tap, tap, tap. And now the leash. And now praise.
Good girl.
So she actually technically did on the third one.
Good girl.
And break.
Break.
Good, four more.
Down.
Praise.
Good girl.
We're at 53, right?
Yes.
Let's go down to 45. Break.
Break.
3 more. Go down lower, go down to 20,
Not as bad as last time.
and brace.
Good girl. Good girl.
Break.
Break.
2 more.
Down.
Down to 12.
Good girl.
See if she'll take this. Don't ignore that for now. Go ahead and feed her.
Oh, feet
Yeah,
up.
don't tap her, just feed her. Alright, guess you don't want it. Alright. Break.
Break. Yeah.
Do one more. So now we got good connection, because you can see how 45 became too much.
Yeah.
And then we went down to 20, and it's still kind of a little bit too much.
Down.
Tap, 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 tap. Now step, tap. Like that.
Good girl.
Yeah, brace. Good. Let's try going to 16. We're gonna try 3 more.
Okay. Break. Down.
Brace.
Good girl.
That's weird. Break.
Break.
2 more.
Down.
Yeah, step and release. Good. Good. Wait a second. It's okay. Just spiral. Yeah, there you go. And then tap. Tap. And then go step and release first. A little bit of pressure. Tap. Good. And brace.
Good girl.
Good girl.
We're gonna do 1 more. Break.
Break.
Now this one, go ahead and grab the leash like right there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then you'll circle around and come to a stop. So what's happening is when you tell her down, when she taps, instead of going into it, she's moving, because we're letting the leash go slack, right? But now it's allowing her to spiral around you. So instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep the leash shorter. You're gonna cue, go ahead and shorten a little bit more. That's good. Is you're gonna cue the word down and then tap, and if she tries to move forward, you're just gonna use your hand to keep her anchored in this space so that she has less range of motion. Because if she has a whole leash, she's gonna keep turning around you like she was right there. So right here, if she goes forward, nothing, she can't go anywhere. If she goes backwards, she can't go anywhere. Then she's gonna think, okay, what if I just go down? Okay?
Down.
Tip. Tip. There you go, and brace.
Good girl.
We'll pause right there. So right now, all we're doing is we're focusing on teaching Luna, when you hear down and you feel the tap, do this, okay? So earlier, when we were gonna give her the treat and she like stood up, I said, don't worry about that right now, because I'm more focused on teaching her how to do this. Okay, once this gets very easy and she's consistent, then I start to be picky about staying down, okay? Because if she's still learning and she gets up and you try tapping her and she's still confused, you're gonna get a bunch of this in the beginning. So I focus on getting this quickly, so then if I correct her, instead of shuffling around, she's gonna go straight into the position. Okay, let's go and swap handles here. Break. Alright.
So I'm holding it in this hand.
Correct. And then what you can do here is we're gonna just do a couple with just the step on the leash
Okay.
and the tap. And then we'll do that a couple of times, and then we're gonna start to use the word of down.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so here she starts to lay down by herself, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna ignore this one.
Okay.
When you circle around the next one, if she lays down prematurely, you're gonna lightly pull up and tap to bring her into a sitting position.
Okay.
Okay, then we're gonna wait a moment, and then we're gonna step on the leash. Okay?
I was about to press the wrong button. Break.
a moment. Almost. She's thinking about it. Yeah. So here, go ahead and lightly pull up on your leash. Tap. 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 Go ahead and bump your collar. Go up 5 levels.
6,
21.
20. Okay.
Or 20, it's this way. Tap. 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 25. Aren't you? Don't forget Chase.
Right? We have computers for that.
Tap. Tap. Bump it.
She looks so done.
Tap. Tap. There we go. Tap. 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 And then relax. Okay? So here what's happening is, because she's assuming, right? She's like, oh, we're just going to do this again. So what we're doing right now is we're trying to teach her not to assume, to lay down.
Like to wait for our command.
Correct. Now, technically she can, because we're not in any kind of command. You're just saying breaking or walking. But then it doesn't allow us to practice the down, right? So then we just counter her by lightly pulling up to tap her into a sitting position. This is super common, it happens all the time. And just so you know, what might happen is when you do heel, when you stop, you might see her sit and lay down. Okay, so if that happens, when you're practicing, you say heel, you're walking for a little bit, you come to a stop, and all of a sudden, when it goes doom, doom, you would just lightly pull up and tap her and correct her into this position, the sitting position, but you wouldn't say anything. Because if you say sit, then it becomes a sit command. You're just trying to teach her when we're in heel, you don't go from the sit to the down. You just go into the sit. Okay, so you're just kind of clarifying for her.
Okay.
So now you'll go ahead and let the leash go slack. And then light pressure with the foot. And tap. Tap. And just try that a couple times.
Oh, good girl. So break? Yeah. Break.
Good. Brace.
Good girl. Oh, sweet baby.
I'll try 2 more.
Break.
Break.
Good girl. Good girl.
Do 1 more.
Break. Fix that.
Good.
Good girl. Good girl.
So now we're gonna use the word down.
Okay.
So if you break, you're gonna circle around, wait a little bit, down, tap first, and no response. Keep tapping, then step on the leash.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Break.
So here, that we're going to lightly pull up.
Gosh. Big paw.
Good, and relax a moment. Now,
Down.
good.
Wait,
Right.
so I was supposed to say down
And then tap.
and then tap.
Correct,
Okay.
but that's okay.
Good girl. You're okay. Break. Oh my gosh.
Go tap. There we go. There you go.
I'm sorry.
Careful.
Oh goodness.
Tap. There you go. And relax. Good.
Down.
Good.
Good girl. Good girl. I can tell she's getting very frustrated.
Yeah, because we were doing this back to back. We're going to do 3 more. And then we're going to give her a break and we'll talk about this.
Okay.
And then we'll do a little bit more.
Break. Oh, you know.
Tap.
Come on.
There we go. Good. This is why I would try to use food here to help balance it out.
Down. Oh, yes, good girl. Oh, I know. Alright. Oh, excuse me. Uh-oh, excuse you.
Tip. What you can do is you'll say break, and you'll start walking. So then as you're walking, then you can go for the leash.
Okay. Oh. All jumbled up in my hands.
It's okay.
Down.
Good girl.
Good girl. Good girl.
Break.
Break.
There you go. One more.
Down. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Good girl. Good girl.
So go
Break.
ahead and if you'd like, you can move your stuff to this so you can have it here. And tap. And then go ahead and have a seat. Tap. Choose it again, restricted. And what you're going to do is you're going to cue, once you have a seat, go ahead and cue the down.
Down.
Good.
Oh,
And just
yes.
chill. Now, if she gets up, now we're going to start being more strict.
Okay.
And we're going to start keeping her in that position, right? So here, when we do things repetitively, kind of like the recall, dogs get frustrated. So especially for this exercise, which is why I did the first few, just in case if she got a little too defensive, I would have worked her through it. But then also trying to incorporate food to balance out the redundancy. So this exercise here, you would only do 3 to 5 minutes. So if you each did a session, 3 to 5 minutes or like 5 reps or 10 reps or whatever, feel free to use food, cheese, turkey, hot dog, bologna, sausage, whatever. Me personally, I use really high value stuff when I train dogs, as long as they don't have any allergies, to help incentivize her like, okay, like this isn't so bad. All we're trying to do here is teach Luna to lay down easily. It's like right there, you had a seat, you sat down, boom, she just laid down. We want it to be quick, we want it to be simple. We don't want it to be an argument, or I don't want it to be like the first one. Like the first one took a little bit, right? That's why we do back to back to back, because the dog starts to assume. So it makes it easier for us to start getting a more consistent speed on the response, because we keep doing it. So the dog just thinks like, all right, boom. And we saw that a couple of times, but then it becomes a problem, because then it doesn't allow us to say down and actually have her go in response to our command. So here, down is meant for extended use. So like the place command, right? Place means go here, don't move. Sit, stand, lay down, I don't care, just don't get off of place. Down is a little bit more strict. There is no exception from that. She can't sit, she can't stand, okay? She has to stay put in that down type position. I don't care how she lays down, I just care that she's laying down. So if she rolls on her side, if she rolls on her back with her legs up, if she's laying how she's laying here, like this is all fine, like she switched sides, but she's still in a down position, that's perfectly fine, okay? So I want function, I don't care about aesthetic. So with this, you can do this like instead of place, like you can alternate them. So like if you're gonna watch TV for, an hour or whatever, just take Luna, call her up, get her all ready, down, tap, and then step on your leash, and you give her about so much slack. So as you're watching TV, if you start to feel her pull on the leash, that's telling you she's getting distracted, and you can either correct her back into the position, or she might just self-correct and then lay back down, no problem. This can be for as long as you want it to be, 30 minutes, 2 hours, an hour. You pick and choose, but it's only going to be as functional as the time you put into it. So if you always do 30-minute downs, she'll be good with 30 minutes, but then when they feel like I need you to not move for 2 hours, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. The stay component of go here and don't move with place and like the lay down and don't move tends to overlap. So you already actually have some foundation there because of the stay command or the place command. Now you're just making it a bit more strict, okay? So typically what I'll recommend is I'll probably do more down stuff to kind of catch her up to the place command. And then once you feel like they're both kind of even or equal in terms of reliability, then you can go more 50-50, okay? Typically with the place command, because people ask like, when do we use which command, is think of the place command is if there's more stuff going on, you're gonna be distracted. Place is easier, because I don't care what you do, just don't get off of the bed, right? Whereas down is more strict. She can't sit, she can't stand. So like, let's say you're gonna go to the park and like read a book. I can do down there, right? So I can just step on the leash. I'm not worried about a lot of distractions other than what's around me. But I just have a single distraction of a book. But if I'm going to a restaurant, I'm gonna be with friends or family, whatever, and we do place command, because I'm gonna be having a conversation, maybe we're drinking beer, and other things are going on that I don't wanna have to worry about what is my dog doing. It's a little bit more lenient. So that's how I usually go about it. I'll tell people if you're gonna be more distracted, I would opt for the place command. If you're gonna be more focused, then you can do the down command. Okay, questions about this or any of this stuff so far?
For the place command, I wasn't here for that session.
Mm-hmm.
My sister said it could be like a towel or with a jacket or a sweater or something.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to go like to a restaurant or something, we'd bring like a little towel.
Yeah. So what some people do is like, so like these here, those are the placemats. So like when you go on the floor, you see like the dogs on them. That's what we use here.
Okay.
You can use a dog bed, you can use a towel, you can use a blanket. You know, people have used like the ottomans, or they'll take like a blanket and they'll put it over a part of the couch, and then that'll be their place. Or it can be like a carpet area rug type thing. It just has to be something with a perimeter. Okay, so like you couldn't say place and point to the corner because where does it end? But with this, she knows, okay, I see the four sides and I'm up here, so I know that I'm supposed to stay within this rectangular shape, okay? And like, let's say you go somewhere and you forgot to bring her place. Well, now you have the down command, so technically you could use the down. Or like one time I forgot with my client to bring my bed. So instead I just took off my jacket and threw it on the ground because the dog fit within the space of the jacket. So as long as it's big enough for her to recognize and differentiate, it can be whatever you want it to be. But the most common thing for like when people go to restaurants is they will bring like a towel. They'll keep a towel in their car to so whenever they go anywhere, if they're gonna need one, it's already there and just pop it out. If you're gonna use a new object, you have to condition her first. Like you can't just bring out something new and say place and expect her to recognize that as another place object. You would use the leash and the tapping to guide her there. And then once you've done it a few times and you say place, she'll then acknowledge like, okay, this object is also place, okay? So if like she gets a new dog bed, even though it's a dog bed, for her it's gonna look different. And you said place, don't be surprised if she's like, what does that mean? She's not gonna apply it because she's not familiar with it.
That
You
makes
have to
sense.
reteach it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Can't think of any. I had one, but I don't remember.
Okay. For the place command, I wouldn't tell Luna place and then down. Because what command will she be in then?
Down.
So people tend to get confused or they'll forget. So when we send them to place, we think lenient. Sit, stand, lay down, I don't care. But if I say place and then down, she's technically in a down command. So she can't stand and she can't sit. She has to maintain the down. So what can happen is the person forgets. And they go, they send the dog to place and they say down. And then 10 minutes later, the dog is standing. Like, we gotta correct that. They go, the dog's on place. I'm like, no, dog's in a down. On place. So we tend to forget that stuff. So what I suggest is that when you place her, you just place her, you don't say down. You would only use down when she's not on place or like something like this, where it's, I'm gonna sit down at Starbucks or something and down her while I wait for my drink. But we would never overlap the commands, or at least I recommend people don't, because that's a super common problem is people forget. Other questions? So what we'll do here is now we're gonna go between the down and the sit. We'll just do a few so she doesn't get overly frustrated. So we want to layer remote, we just layered remote over the down. Now we want to layer remote over the sit. And what we're going to do is we're going to go between down and sit, back to back, to give her a concept of each individual command. Now this is where things get a little tricky for the dog because like earlier, it was most likely because there wasn't enough contact. But when you downed her and then you were tapping and you're pulling up to try to get her to sit, well for the past like 30 minutes, she'd been down. So she's thinking tap means to down. And like I've even seen dogs like go down even more because they're thinking how much more lower am I supposed to go. So that's why we use the leash pressure to guide them up. And we keep going up in the power. She's like, all right, laying down isn't working right now like it was. What happens if I jump up with the leash? The pressure goes away. So then we're conditioning her to recognize that when she feels pressure up, it means to put the butt back down. And if she feels pressure down, it means to go into a down position. Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and release her.
Break. Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. And then you'll go ahead and pick a spot there on the floor. We're going to see what she does. So she goes into a sit. That's good. She's gonna lay down. That's fine.
Oh.
Okay. So we're not going to care about this now.
Okay.
We cared before because before we were doing only downs, but now we're going to do sits and downs, right? So if she came to a sit, we would just do a down. If she comes to a down, then we would just do a sit. Okay.
Okay.
Is you're going to cue the word sit first, and then you're going to tap about 2-3 times. If no response, keep tapping and then lightly pull up.
Okay.
Okay? Go ahead.
Sit.
Tap. Tap.
Oh.
Now praise.
Good girl. Good girl. Ooh, yes. Okay.
Down.
Down.
Good.
Yes. Good girl.
All right, now wait a second right here. So when we do these commands, you want to vary the length of time between each command.
Okay.
So if you go sit, down, down.
She'll get
She's gonna get frustrated. She's gonna pick up on the pattern. You're gonna see her be like a clock where she's gonna go from sitting down. Okay. So I'll go sit, I'll wait a little bit, then down, wait a little bit, and then sit. And also what'll happen is as she's in the sit, you might start to see her lay down because she's expecting that it's gonna happen. So then you would tap and correct her back into the sitting position. So you're teaching her like, hey, right now in this moment, you really want to listen for the word sit and for the word down, and don't assume the position. Okay? So go ahead and cue sit.
Sit.
Yep. And praise.
Good girl. Good girl. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Release.
Break.
Good. And circle around.
Didn't do anything. Down.
Good.
Good girl. Sit.
Now we'll pull. Yep. Good.
Good girl. Do I praise her after that?
Mhm.
Okay.
So at this stage, because it's new, we're praising or feeding for all of them.
Okay.
Once we see she's better and she's consistent, then I can start picking and choosing what I'm going to reward and what I'm not going to reward. Okay?
Break.
Couple more before she runs away.
Down. Good, thank you. Good girl. Oh, yes. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. I know. Break.
Okay. Yep. Yep. There we go.
Sit. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Down.
Now here. Good. What we're going to do is we're going to keep running it down. Let's go and switch handlers. Tap, tap, tap. Now the slack leash, tap. Yep, and then step, tap. Good. Tap, 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 tap. Go ahead and bump her number. There she goes. Tap, tap, and then there we go. And relax. Wait a moment. So you can see here, see how she's sniffing and stuff? She's getting frustrated, but she's also like being a brat. If it was pure frustration, once they kind of cave in, you wouldn't see the sniffing. The sniffing and all that stuff is telling you like earlier when you downed her here, and she pulled out, and she was over here, and she like switched like that. Was she's not wanting to sit still. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is can be more challenging than place command. I can't remember how she responded with that before.
She's been pretty well with it, I think.
Okay, but in the session, was she doing anything like that? Or was she just going
She
in?
was getting a little sneaky, like sneaking around, like trying to step off.
Okay, so this is the same thing. But since this is much more stringent, it's real strict, you might see more of that. Okay, so these are like good. It's a different type of exercise. It's mental, because she's wanting to do something. We're telling her, nope, you can't do that. You have to hold still. And not only do you have to hold still, you have to hold still in that kind of position. So then, like this for extended periods of time. That's why we do that here. It's mental exercise as opposed to just play all day, to change it up, so that we're exercising all parts of the dog, physically and mentally. So same thing for her. So if she's ever looking a little bit antsy or whatever, you can use the place command to help just her decompress or go into a down. Okay. So here, go ahead and you can release her.
Break.
Good. And we're just going to do a couple more taps, just because she's getting frustrated.
Down.
Good.
Good girl.
Good one.
Sit.
Tip. No, tap, nothing. Tip. Good, pump your collar and keep her hand, yeah, like that. There she goes. And then relax. Good, what's your number now?
42.
Okay, that's fine.
Good girl.
Yeah.
Down.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Break.
Break.
Good, just a couple more.
Really is a rat.
We've always known this.
Down. Good girl.
And she'll wait a little bit, yeah. Whenever you're ready, you can do it.
Sit.
Good.
Good girl.
Put a dip back down. We're at 42. Let's go down to 25. Yeah.
Down.
Good. And then go ahead and let your leash go slack. And then you're going to just step on the leash, giving like a foot of slack. Like that. Perfect. Okay. So like, sit is for temporary control. So if you're walking with her, like you come to a stop in a heel, she should automatically sit. You have a conversation with a friend, a few minutes, no big deal, she should be able to hold that heel and keep walking. If you come to a stop and you're going to talk to that person for a period of time, anything longer than 5 minutes, I would say, I would down her. Okay, because dogs tend to get uncomfortable in a sitting position, so they'll automatically start to lay down. So technically not doing anything bad, but she's making a decision while under command. So then for her, she's like, well, if I can lay down whenever I want, then I don't have to do the recall when they ask, or I can go say hi to a dog whenever I want. It becomes other decisions. So we have to be super black and white. When I come to a stop, if she automatically says she's meant to maintain that sit, my rule of thumb is I don't do it longer than 5 minutes. If that's the case, I down the dog, but technically, if I talk for 20 minutes, the dog is supposed to stay in that sit for 20 minutes unless I give permission to release or I give an alternate command. So here, you of course know what's going to happen. So if you think you're going to be doing anything longer than 5 minutes, my suggestion is you just down her, and you avoid the problem of her laying down on her own. Because the other thing is we tend to either forget or get too involved in the conversation that the dog will lay down, and you may know to correct it, but we're so distracted that we forget. So with this, by stepping on the leash like that, if she tries to get up, you would feel the leash on your foot pull, so that will get your attention to Luna, and then you would correct her if needed to put her back in the down position, and you would carry on with what you were doing. Okay? Questions about any of this stuff?
Oh, did you have one?
No, I was trying to think.
Oh man, I made a weird noise with the mic. I was just gonna say, like, you know, obviously if we're gonna stop and see a friend and then we think that it's only gonna be like 5 minutes and then 5 minutes pass and you're like, oh, you know, I don't know, I feel like talking more. Then you put it on?
Correct.
Okay, you don't have to break her or anything? You just
No, you can just go straight to the down.
Okay.
Yeah, so your new command overrides your old command.
Okay.
So yeah, so you could do the sit, and maybe you just, there was like, we thought this would be a quick conversation, but then you realize, oh, we're gonna be here for a bit, you can always give a new command, okay? So unless you say break, the command is in effect until you give her permission. So like if she's in a heel, and I'm walking with her and I stop and she automatically sits, and I say down, she should down, so technically if you walk away, she shouldn't move. Okay, but we're gonna have to build on that, but that's how that would work, because the last thing you said was down. So same thing with place. If I tell her place and she goes there and I say down, down overrides the place command that was just given. Okay, so then you have to say break to release her from that position. Okay, but you don't have to do place, break, then down. Does that make sense? Other questions? This, we call this puppy push-ups. So same thing, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes of each did a session with her a day. Feel free to use food. Once you feel like she's doing really good and she sits and she downs, no problem, you can stop doing this and then you just apply the obedience. So once I teach the skill, I just tell people apply it. So alternating between place and the down command. The sit command is kind of the least useful because we teach sit as the default for a lot of stuff. So heel, stop, she automatically sits. When we do recall stuff, automatically sit. Whenever when I feed my dogs, they just by default sit because that's what they've been taught to do. When I bring something that you want, you put your butt down. So I don't ever really use the sit command because it's all trained as kind of like a polite manner. So for you, just think to yourself, like, where would we apply this? And then just find little places to put it. But we don't have to say stay. Stay is implied. So like earlier when we passed off and you had said down, she laid down, but then she came over to take the leash, she got up and you started correcting her. All those corrections that you did are what are teaching Luna. When we put you in this position, you don't get up. You stay put, okay? The last thing we'll teach, so we have heel, place, come, sit down is the stay command. We'll cover that next class. And at that point, we're gonna probably start transitioning everything to the long leash. So we start building to a higher level of control. So for all this stuff, just find places during your day where you can apply this. The down command, maybe when you're eating lunch or whatever. And then maybe walk to the park and have her lay down and you just sit there for 5 minutes at a bench or something, then you get up and walk away with her in a heel, or you can put her into a break and let her run around and have fun and stuff. Let's just start applying all this. And then we'll start advancing her control. Okay? Questions? Good. Good job.